All right, the Reds, Monday's talking Reds. Gareth Roberts, Craig Hannan, band back together and all that. The Reds are still top of the league. I just checked. The Times very kindly in their game pull-out have still published the Premier League table despite there being no football in the Premier League over the weekend, and I can confirm Liverpool are still top. Played 4, won 4, 12 points, topping it by 1 in the goal difference from Chelsea and Watford and Man City. It's all right, isn't it? Up the Reds.
That's been today's Talking Reds.
The reason I started with that is obviously that it's been an international break, and they're largely crap, aren't they? Let's all be honest about it. I mean, you know, various Reds have been out and about over the weekend doing bits. You've seen Van Dijk put a great block in against Mbappe. You've seen Shaqiri score for Switzerland. You've seen Firmino score for Brazil. You saw Fabinho actually get a game. I think he won a penalty as well. Gomez played for England. Henderson played for England. And on it goes. But we have found some stuff to talk about, so don't worry. There's another friendly, obviously England friendly tomorrow against Switzerland in Leicester. Talk is that Trent is likely to start that one. We're going to start with Joey Gomez. We've been talking about him a lot. Obviously, his performances for the Reds have been great so far this season. He's having a little bit of a finger being pointed at him for Spain's second goal. But that aside, he's on the ball, or he gets touches of the ball more than any other England player on the pitch. And he's got a bit of praise accordingly, which is a bit mad actually. Like, if you read through the papers, and I have done this morning, like, they're not even consistent in their own paper, if you know what I mean. So, like, on the one hand, you've got like a fella giving Gomez 5 out of 10 for his performance, which seems, in my eyes, a little bit harsh. And then at the same time, you've got like Keown and who's the other fella? Cascarino. Cascarino in the game says, impressive Gomez should keep his place. He says he played really well on the right of England's 3-man defence. It's his position to lose now. He's 21, he's only going to get better playing alongside Van Dijk. Says Kyle Walker did well, but Gomez is almost as quick and is better in the air and has better positional sense than Walker, which is all very nice, isn't it? And then in the Mail, big mad Martin Keown, the most sincere man in football. Very serious, isn't he? Very serious.
Wouldn't fancy a pint with him.
Well, I would, because imagine it went off, he'd box it.
Nah.
Remember he did that big mad leap in front of Van Nistelrooy? He's
know.
mad.
But what would you talk to him about? He'd just be sat there going, "It's a very good pint of beer, this, Gareth.
But he might be different.
Having a very nice time with you, off. Gareth."
Also, you could rip him about Everton and stuff. I mean, he says here, Gomez played well and only confirmed that he is a Rolls-Royce defender. He was the most accurate passer in the team. The next step is to become a domineering figure, not afraid to point the finger at teammates. That's probably to come, isn't it? He's 21 years old. But nevertheless, it's nice to see good things written about our players, I would say. England as well, in general. I mean, I can say it for the millionth time, you're probably not that bothered, but I'm not the biggest fan, obviously. But I think it's interesting in sort of like, you know, the dynamics of international football. So Craig, obviously, is a Northern Ireland fan. They managed to fuck up their match quite royally, as it were, because, you know, they're all saying they played really well. And yet they give away an absolute calamity of a goal. And didn't get a pen as well. They're good at not getting pens, aren't they?
Yeah, basically my life support in Northern Ireland has been they're absolutely shit for about 24 years. They went 2 years without scoring once. That was my first 2 years going to the matches. And then, so over the past like sort of 4 years, qualified for the Euros, got to the World Cup playoffs, like 1 goal away and all of that. And like, They've always been good at when they play well winning, and if they're necessarily not playing that well, or they're not putting the ball in the net, then they can soak up pressure and not concede stupid goals. At the weekend they played as good as I've seen them play for ages, and they got beat. It's like this new thing. I didn't really know how to react to it. It was Bosnia.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Sorry.
So like Jacko and Pjanic, or whoever he is, the lad from Juventus, they were playing.
Bigging them up there, aren't they?
Yeah, and trying to make them sound better. They were terrible the first half. Northern Ireland were brilliant, and then just 2 terrible goals. Will Grigg scored.
What's interesting though is, I mean, we
I know that's what you've all came for, hot Northern Ireland content.
No, but what's interesting about it is we came to a game with you, didn't we? Went to Windsor Park and all the rest of it, and you know the general vibe was everyone was enjoying themselves. We enjoyed ourselves as well. The footy was a bit shit, but
we won 4-1. They won 4-1. It's limited. That's what they know what they're good at and they know what they're bad at, and they stick to the game plan. Organised.
But you're all enjoying it, was my point. You're all enjoying it, and you seem to be enjoying it. And I just wonder why it is, and we talked about it before, but why it is that, and there's loads of reasons, but why is why seemingly is there so many people not asked about England and about international football? I think it could be because the Premier League's that good, and the club allegiances, there's the politics, there's lots of stuff around Liverpool, why Liverpudlians aren't asked and stuff like that. But this game tomorrow, there's still about 4,000 tickets left according to the Times today, the one at Leicester. And it's the first time they've played in Leicester for 15 years. So you kind of think...
Surprises me.
Yeah, you kind of think, oh, well, everyone will go mad for it. It's particularly when, there's, the likelihood is that there's going to be a couple of Leicester players actually in the team as well. So I wondered, is it maybe ticket prices? So I looked at that. The tickets are £55, £45 and £35. There's family enclosure tickets as well, £25 for adults, £10 for children under 16. You get a £10 discount if you're an OAP student and under 16. So not that bad. I mean, we mostly say that we want ticket prices to be around £20, £30, but nevertheless, you've seen ticket prices that are much dearer than that. So maybe it isn't that. But then also when I was having a little think about this and thinking about Northern Ireland and thinking about how you enjoy it and then looking at the coverage today, and I just think like there's almost like an inherently snide way that England's covered in England. So you look at today, okay, they got beat by Spain. Like Spain are all right though, aren't they? They're a pretty decent side, obviously. And yet all the coverage is just like staring the shit. So, there's lots of stuff about that Gareth Southgate has only got 2 years left on his contract, and they're all a bit incredulous about why he hasn't signed a new one. 2 years is quite a long time. And so, it kind of feels a little bit like, oh, well, they were shit in the match. What can we stir up? Oh, well, the manager hasn't signed this new deal. Let's make a big deal about that. And that's everywhere. But then also as well, stuff like, where is it? So stuff like this is the Mail Sports pullout. Front page. Is there any wonder Harry isn't feeling golden? Just 20 touches of the ball all game, only 3 in the Spain penalty area, and just 4 passes to him from midfield. Now, this was the fella that they were all not very long ago making out to be like the best thing since sliced bread, the best striker you'd ever seen, and we were all going, well, what about the Mo fella? And now it's like, the first opportunity to knock these fellas back down, they're all straight in. It's like the ratings I said before, loads of people getting 4s and 5s and stuff like this, and it's like, they didn't play that badly. And I don't know, maybe I'm reading too much into it, and maybe I'm just filling for a Talking Reds where there's not loads to talk about. But
give the game away.
But you know what I mean, though? Doesn't it feel a bit snide, the way they do it?
I don't know why you're surprised. It feels like this has been my whole life as a football fan. Whenever England play, it feels like this is what the media is like, whether it's around a World Cup. It almost feels as if the media are out to catch them out a little bit in the build-up. And I think this summer's the first time it sort of felt like, there was a feel-good factor around England, and even in Liverpool, you saw the fan parks and stuff. You saw coming out of work and walking into town, everyone going to the fan park just down at the docks. There was this it felt like something was sort of building and happening, and there was excitement around the England national team, and it kind of almost feels as if the media used that to build them up and build them up, and now they're bringing them back down again. In terms of England fans having fun, I think it's good that they're going to Leicester. I think that's something that they should do. They should take it around the country. You saw whenever they one of the warm-up games, they took the game to Leeds, and the atmosphere looked really good there. I think that's something that they should do, so that there's more of a connection around the country. But I think when you look at even Wales as well, Wales and Northern Ireland seem to be having a brilliant time, and maybe that's out of the fact that previously there wasn't any expectation on them really, because they weren't qualifying for tournaments. So once they did qualify for the tournament, everyone gets excited about it, and that's kind of continued. And it's like you say, we go to Northern Ireland matches, first of all to have a nice time, and second of all hopefully to win the game. And I don't think that kind of mindset it really works for England, because England see themselves as one of the best teams in international football, whether they are or whether they aren't. No, I know, but but yeah, I don't really get the media coverage of England. I don't really get. I thought, like I said, during the World Cup, that's the first time I actually thought, oh right, it feels as if the whole country sort of, or most of the country,
what they're doing as well is
people who support them are pushing in the same direction, but back to just reverting back to the norm there.
I mean, loads of the coverage today as well is, oh well, you know, if he loses against Switzerland, it'll be the worst run for 30 years and all this, and it's like, I thought what Southgate said was actually spot on, where he said, you know, we're trying to do a certain thing here with the team, we're trying to play in a certain way, and we'll make mistakes and we'll get beat at times, but you just got to sort of have patience and have some tolerance, and yeah, then you pick up all the papers, and that, you know, those comments aren't really sort of giving any credence anywhere. It's all just, we're crap, there's a disaster, the manager's getting off, the striker's not any good. And it's like,
these things take time though. That's the thing. They can't have it both ways. They can't ask Southgate to sort of bring in all of these youngsters and get them game time and play the way that they want them to play throughout the whole setup, starting from 17s, 19s, 21s to the full national team. And then as soon as one mistake against a good Spain side, then you're getting on his back. And I think, you know, especially for an international manager, I think it takes them a lot longer because they're not working with them every day to sort of get their ideas across. Like, I can only speak as a Northern Ireland fan, but Michael O'Neill, who's performed miracles in Northern Ireland, his first 2 years as Northern Ireland manager it was like one of the worst campaigns we've had in the last 30 years, which is no mean feat considering some of the terrible campaigns. We finished just above Luxembourg and behind Azerbaijan in 5th. But then 2 years later, he takes them to the Euros because they all bought into his ideas, and these ideas take time. And I think it's going to be the same for Southgate. And you'd think like what he did in the World Cup sort of buys him some time as well, exactly. Buys him some credence. But whether you think he had an easy run to the semi-final or not, whether you think they overperformed or whether they should have reached that stage, but in my eyes, he's sort of bought some time, and he should be allowed that time rather than, you know, just ganging up on him again it's just this cycle of England, and it's one of those things, isn't it?
I just wonder whether it's all getting a little bit old as well. I mean, you know, not as many people buy newspapers now. They're not as essential as they once were. And it was interesting over the weekend. I was reading, like, fingers crossed we're going to be doing something with Peter Crouch. Fingers crossed. So we had an advanced copy of his new book, which I read over the weekend. And it's really good, by the way. I'm not just saying this, it is really good. You should get it. He comes across as you'd expect him to, basically a sound fella, someone you'd like to go for a pint with, and someone who's enjoying himself and enjoying life and enjoying football. But he was insisting on lots of topics, but he's insisting on social media, innit? Where he basically says, like, you know, he thinks footballers should embrace it, because he said, this is your opportunity to show what you're really about. And he said, and if someone's printing crap in the paper, you can just go on and say, well, that's bollocks. And you can say what you think. And I'm with him on that. And that's what I mean about, like, you know, newspapers haven't got this grip on the country like they once had, and yet they're still sort of, to a large extent, covering football in this same way, this shit-stirring way, this trying to create controversy way, even when it's not really there. And I just wonder whether it's all just getting a little bit old, and whether they're almost shooting themselves in the foot a little bit. I mean, where's the balance to it? Where's the other side of it? I mean, instead you get, like, you know, fan media doing it, or you get the discussions on social media, or you get independent websites, and that's all great. But I just think if you're inside the walls of these gaffes and just still doing it the same way, you know, that you were doing it 20 years ago, then maybe you need to look in the mirror a little bit and go, this is fucking boring.
But then it's probably similar to social media in that, like, does a balanced opinion rather than a sensationalist headline sort of sell you papers? And you know the way, if you say, like,
I mean, it
feels like
who buys it on the centre?
No, I know, but yeah, and what I mean is that if you see on social media, like, the people you always hear are the people who have the most extreme views, aren't you? Because someone says something and it's extreme this way, it gets the retweets, whether it's from the people who believe it or the people who are completely against it and want people to see this mad opinion. And the same happens on the other side. The people that say the sensible thing in the middle, you know, it's too sensible, it's not going to get the reaction, is it? And I wonder if it's the same with the newspapers. But in terms of the England team, I'd like, you know, they get beat, and I think they had a goal ruled out, or they had something around that. Like, I didn't see it. Like, it's a bit boring to say it was an alright performance against a good side. We go on to the next one. Southgate has loads of time. That's boring, isn't it? It is.
But it's true. The wrap then, the Anfield Wrap, what we are and all that. Been asking for feedback over the weekend about the videos in general, because obviously as well as Talking Reds, we're doing a lot more video now, and that will continue. There will be a preview show later in the week, there will be a post-match pint after the Spurs game, and then there will be a second look next week. So I was just asking our Facebook subscribers group, Tour Player subscribers, type that into Facebook if you want to get in it. You do have to actually be a subscriber, so you have to answer some really difficult questions. But yeah, I was asking in there, and lots of people just going like, can you just release these as podcasts? No, because it's a video product, and we want you to like our YouTube channel, we want you to subscribe to it, we want the channel to grow, and the idea is that we offer video and podcasts. So the idea that we then go and put this out as a podcast, well, that costs us money to host and blah, 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 blah. We don't want to clog up feeds, but also there's loads of podcasts going on already without putting the video on there, if you know what I mean. So no, we're not doing that. But right now, the free show is being recorded downstairs below us in our podcast studio, so you can give that a listen. There's loads of stuff right through the week as well, despite it being an international break. All the build-up to the game against Tottenham at Wembley, 12:30 on Saturday. We'll be talking about all those aspects, but also we've got things like AFQ football coming out, which is just answering your questions about football, having a general debate. So there's lots of stuff out there on Tour Player this week. The videos, as I say, will be back. There was one last week as well that I noticed got a lot of praise, which was a show about FSG and where we are now with the owners and what we think of them. Even some people at the club asked for a copy of that, had a listen, and felt that it was pretty fair. It's not all just blowing the trumpet, it's criticism as well. It was a fair chat, it was a good room. So if you haven't listened to that one, give that a listen. And for those that say we never talk about FSG, here we are talking about it.
I had a listen actually. I'd caught up on a few of the podcasts actually. There's a few from last week that were brilliant. The EPL one with Ben Jono.
Oh yeah, it was good.
Ben Jono, who does our match ratings, you might have read them or seen them. If you don't listen to the podcast, he's a very, very funny man. But yeah, he had a look at the previous week of fixtures and a bit about Mourinho, and I was in tears laughing the whole way through. But the FSG one's a belter. There was the Adrien Rabiot special as well. So absolutely loads going on in the international break as well.
Also as well, we're going to finish Talking Reds today with a trailer for the latest moments in time, which, if you've been watching us and listening to us for a while, you'll know now what they are. But if you don't know, basically it's revisiting, guess what, a moment in time. And this one is the 2001 FA Cup final. The lads have been working really hard on this, particularly John. And managed to get loads of players, journalists, fans to basically retell that moment in time. So you got Michael Owen on there. Really had to laugh this morning. I mean, like a trailer's gone out on Twitter, which Sam's put together, just plugging this, and you'll see that at the end of this video. And someone goes, yeah, this is great, lads, but why have you got Michael Owen? He scored 2 goals, lads. I mean, look, I know he played for United, and I'm no fan of the fella, and I've met him and I didn't like him and all that kind of thing, but he still, in that moment in time, won us the FA Cup, and it was quite good, and at that time, he deserved credit, and he's still that man, whatever you think of him. So, it was a good get.
Can you imagine doing moments of time and it just stops at Arsenal 1-0? We've had to stop it now because the lad, we don't like him anymore. So
we're not going to talk about the 2 goals that won it for Liverpool. We're not going to talk about the fella who did it. Great one, mate.
I think Gibbo said that it's like it'd be like a documentary about the Nazis, but leaving Hitler out of it.
Yeah, not having you, lads. Don't like
you
him.
Prick.
So yeah, that. Have a look out for that anyway. Is it due out today, is it? Or?
Tomorrow, it'll be out tomorrow. I had a listen to it at the weekend as well. Did bits of the weekend, to be honest. The cast is unreal. So they've got, I think we're allowed to say now, but they've got Michael Owen, Jamie Carragher, Sander Westerveld, Stefan Oncho, who's the handballs in the day, Paddy Berger, who sets up one of the goals, McAllister, Phil Thompson, the assistant manager. We've got the referee. Got Lee Dixon, who played on that day for Arsenal. And then we've got a few fans, so Kev Walls, Dan Morgan, yourself, you're on it as well. And there's a couple of journalists as well, I think. I'm struggling to remember who they were.
Reed, I
can't remember.
Brian
but it's ridiculous. Like, Emil Heskey's on it as well. There's just there's so many footballers on it. There's almost a full team. We were laughing that they basically just keep coming up in the podcast and like, oh yeah. And then Owen obviously as well. So he's done really well into Gibbo on that.
Yeah, it's all there. So lots of stuff to get stuck into this week. Get stuck into it. Keep watching the Anfield Wrap. Click, subscribe, and yeah, see you tomorrow. That's been Talking Reds.
Cardiff was a good stadium for it because it was so big. The moments in the match are great and the goals going in are unbridled, but that feeling of elation, that's what you're in it for, and they're the moments you remember when you look back on it.
To see the faces on the people behind that goal was just astonishing. It was disbelief.
I always remember getting back into the room and just sort of crashing on my bed, really, and just lying there thinking, you've won the FA Cup.
If I could rewind the clock and have one day again in my life, then I would say it would be that. It was probably my most favourite as a professional footballer. When you look back, it's not loads of other things that's associated with being a footballer. It's those days when you win a trophy and you're together with all your teammates and you have a party afterwards. They're the ones that you remember.